Well, as you can see, all the woodwork, all the construction of the mandolin is now complete. It's had a good sand and clean up, and I've just given the whole of the instrument a very fine coat of sanding sealer, really just to keep it clean whilst we go through the next stage. And the next stage is really to get the hardware on, make the bridge, get it strung up and get it playing in the white, as violin makers say, i.e. before there's any finish on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make the bridge. Well, in my last video I touched upon the idea of energy being transferred efficiently through the instrument, and of course another contributing factor to that is how well the bridge fits the soundboard, and there's only one way to do that, and that's this. Quite time consuming, as all of these jobs are, but equally essential. So the bridge blank now fits the top plate. I do my final check using feeler gauges. I find that gives me a more accurate picture rather than just eyeballing it. You can get tricked by shadows, etc. You'll notice that the middle section, there's a gap. It doesn't touch the top plate at all at the middle. There's always a debate, should it be full contact or 2-point? I'm of the opinion that certainly for my instruments I prefer 2 points of contact for the bridge. So with that fitting now, I'll do the rest of the shaping. Okay, so there is the completed bridge. A removable bone saddle, obviously that needs a little bit of work. You can put a shim underneath the saddle if you wish to raise the action. I always set my actions as low as I think the instrument can take it, based on the theory that it's easier for a player to raise the action than it is to lower the action. Also, the saddle is set back. It's not in the centre of the bridge. I like to have a little bit more wood in front of the saddle, and that's to help stop the tendency of a bridge wanting to rock forward. So that's the complete bridge. So here's the tailpiece. This is one that I've designed and made myself, and if you have a look on my YouTube channel you'll see that there's a short video about how I actually make these. So that's going to be obviously fixed to the end here. There are 2 brass screws. That stops it from twisting, rotating, and the large hole is for an end pin jack socket, and really that's like putting a 12mm bolt through there to hold it in place. I like these tailpieces. It gives a very rigid anchor for the string, and again that's something that I feel is important as far as sustain and volume is concerned. So up at this end we've got a bone nut. I've just taken it down to the right width, so it's a tight fit in between the head overlay and the end of the fingerboard. So the next job is to obviously cut it to length and then mark out and saw the slots for the strings. I'll be putting a strap pin on the heel, and as I'm using brass on the tailpiece, I'll also be using a brass strap button, and I like these Gibson ones. They seem to be very well made and they suit my instrument nicely. So I've fitted a set of Gota MA40 tuners, good solid reliable tuners, nickel plated with pearloid buttons which match the N logo and the dots on the fretboard. And if I turn it over, you can see one thing that I always do with the tuners when I'm going through this process is put some masking tape on the head. You find that the tuners excrete oil, and the masking tape just stops the wood from absorbing that. So that's my top tip. There we go. That's how you put a jack socket in your instrument. And one of the last pieces of hardware to go on will be the pickguard or the finger rest. I'm sorry, I keep stopping because every time I talk I can hear the mandolin ring out. Anyway, yeah, so the last piece to go on will be the finger rest. And you can see it's been made from a slice of the same walnut as the head overlay, and it's been laminated with a line of green and carbon fibre. So the whole thing, although it's very thin, is very stiff, and of course, unlike a piece of tortoiseshell plastic, etc., it's in keeping with everything else. So I'll mount that finally once I've got the instrument playing and I know where the bridge is going to go, its final position, etc. And I can sort of trim that and mount it. We can see all the hardware's on, and what I've got to do now is work on the action and the intonation. I only have 4 strings to start with, because what I do is adjust the action of, say, the first string in this position, and then it's relatively easy to lift it out and put it into the second slot and adjust the action of the second slot. I find if you have all eight strings on, it all becomes very cramped and difficult to actually work. So I just put the 4 strings on. As you can see, there's no tension at the moment, because what I wanted to do was get a rough idea of what it looked like at the nut and at the saddle. And if I fret this at the 1st fret and measure it at the 13th, I can see that really the saddle looks pretty much okay at this stage. Emphasise that, at this stage. And what I've got to do is do all of the lowering at the nut using the appropriate nut file and measuring the gap between the bottom of the string and the top of the fret with feeler gauges. So as that goes down, I may then have to adjust the action at the saddle. So we say it's this sort of iterative process. You're adjusting here, you're adjusting there, and then you're coming back here, and you keep going until you got the height right. And then with the height of the action correct, start looking at getting the intonation spot on. No point in trying to do the intonation at this stage, because as you lower the action, it's going to change. So it's going to take me quite a few hours of filing bone, which isn't my favourite material to work with, but there you go. So, setting up, off we go. Well, there you go. That's what I like to call my first fix as far as the action and intonation is concerned. It's about right at the nuts, it's about right at the saddle. It's Friday afternoon. I'm going to hang the instrument up now and leave it to settle down until Monday, Tuesday next week, and then I'll put the other 4 strings on and really go through the process again. But although it's only got 4 strings on it, and it's only been strung up for 10 minutes. I'm really quite pleased with the way it sounds already. I think it's full of promise. I find instruments certainly my instruments, change dramatically once they've been strung up for about 24 hours. I think it's to do with kind of Young's modulus and elastic and plastic deformation, but you know, that's a topic for another time. So there we are, almost there. Quite excited. Okay, well, have a good weekend, and I'll see you soon.